Jackpot Heroes, and Jared Sage B, you both won the giveaways from last week. Comic fam, enjoy your trending comics list. Glorious purpose, comic fam. We're here to chat the trending comics of the week with an Overstreet price guide advisor. His name's Russ Bright. How you feeling?
I am fantastic. It is great to be back in town. And I'm so excited about this list because we actually have a couple books that are being driven by toy specs. So all you toy collectors out there, you got to stay tuned to the end.
Action figures, toys, what's going on? Comic fam, slap that like button, hit the subscribe button, stay tuned to the end of the video. We have a giveaway on deck. Let's chat about some Alex Ross Kang goodness.
Number 10 on the list, Avengers number 2. This is an astounding Kang the Conqueror cover. And the fact that it's done by Alex Ross means that there's a bunch of people getting this just for the art.
So much Kang spec happening, Russ, and so many different versions to consider. Why not just make it simple and get an Alex Ross cover with multiple Kangs featured on it? We're talking Kang, we're talking Immortus, we're talking Scarlet Centurion, we're talking Iron Lad, we're talking Ramatut. We're talking a $5 average sale and a $50 high sale for a CGC 9.8 and an increase of copies sold of 1,100% this week.
Tom, you should also mention the fact that there are these floating clocks that are kind of like these non-sentient miss minutes. I mean, I love the dolly feel, but for those of you that are Alex Ross fans, and I know there are a lot of you out there, go get this book. A lot of people are just buying Alex Ross because the cover art is so cool, and the fact that this features all of these different Kangs makes it a book to watch.
So many Easter eggs in the most recent Loki show. What was your favorite?
I think it was the Living Tribunal. It's nice to see more of that character after that one brief mention in Doctor Strange.
Comic fam, I gotta know your favorite Easter egg in the most recent episode. Mine has to be, just like many others, the Thanoscopter. Comic fam, we sourced this list of 10 comics from the best comic app in existence from a larger list of 20. And another comic that made the top 20 was Spidey Super Stories issue number 39. This is a tough book, man.
It really, really is. And I think a lot of the people in the comic fan wouldn't know if it wasn't for the Key Collector app. Use code TOM101 for 2 free weeks. But this is an amazingly tough book in any grade because it's a kid's comic.
We see the first appearance of Thanos flying in on the Thanoscopter, featured in limbo in this world where the Time Variance Authority sends all of their variants and things that they got to scrub from the timeline. And this is a fun book because, yes, it's for kids. It's a fantastical story, right? Thanos flying a helicopter, but it actually has 2 stories on the inside. One focuses on Women's Day in 1979, shout out, but the other is The Cat and the Cosmic Cube, where Thanos is after the Cosmic Cube. It actually gets in the hands of a child. Thanos is like trying to reason with him to give it to him, but the kid says, no way, Jose. He's given that Cosmic Cube to our heroes, and then Thanos gets arrested by the NYPD.
Okay, because he's not going to be able to make bail, right?
That's right. All right, next on the list is number 9. We have X-Men number 1, the J. Scott Campbell variant.
Tom, this J. Scott Campbell variant is beautiful, but you may remember that there was a Rogue variant by John Tyler Christopher that was released a couple years ago that looks a little bit like this one.
A little bit like this one.
A lot bit like this one. Comic fan, which one do you like better? Who did it better, J. Scott Campbell or John Tyler Christopher? Both of these are fantastic. There were only 2,500 copies of this made. They were sold online as the ReedPop Metaverse exclusive. They are now selling for $165 upon release. So if you didn't pre-order it a month ago, you're paying a lot now.
John Tyler Christopher popularized this negative space version of these characters. It's cool seeing J. Scott Campbell get in the mix. People were really digging that Wolverine we dubbed Banana variant.
Right.
That was all us. And also the Spider-Man variant was one of my favorites as well. As Russ mentioned, let me know in the comment section below which Rogue variant is your favorite, and hit him with number 8.
Number 8 on the list, Amazing Spider-Man number 656. This one is a double key.
Double key.
You know what? It's the first appearance of the Mark II bulletproof uniform and the origin of Massacre.
That's right. Massacre getting some love in this book, but also Spider-Man getting shot. Bullet going through his bod, and he's got to go back, figure out what to put on instead because he's got to repel some bullets, and that's exactly what he does. A slick new design, that yellow symbol going all throughout his legs and his arms. This is a gorgeous uniform for our web slinger. But why is it spiking this week? Because we're seeing $15 average sales for this book, $105 for a CGC 9.8, and an increase of copies sold of 1,150%.
Well, it's because they leaked the Sanctum Workshop, which is a Lego set that actually has him in a new suit. This is incredible. And again, like I said, you toy collectors out there, you know when to drive these books.
People are hyped about Spider-Man No Way Home. And one thing I can mention is that the coverage that I do with Gem Mint every single week,
it's your boy Gem Mint.
We cover the record breakers, the big sales. And we went from last year's Star Wars spec and a ton of Turtles and Independent spec happening to now Mutant spec and Spider-Man spec.
Yep.
So many villains. We're talking the Sinister Six. All of these comics are hyper expensive. So when spec pops up, even if it's just a costume change in the comic books at an affordable buy-in of $15, no surprise that this now has blown up on the list.
Tom, it doesn't feel like it would be a list unless we were talking about stray dogs again.
What the heck, dude? 4 weeks in a row, coming in at number 7. Stray Dogs strut. We're my Cowboy Bebop's fans. Come on. All right, we have Stray Dogs number 2, the third print, Evil Dead homage. We told you this was coming. Hit that subscribe button. And this is blowing up my Instagram. And you picked up a ton of copies because aren't you a huge fan of Sam Raimi?
I am a massive fan of Evil Dead. I love Army of Darkness, all of the Sam Raimi stuff, even Spider-Man 3. Yes, I was a fan of it. But come on, guys. This book, $15 right out the gate, brand new this week. Good luck finding a copy. I know it's going to be sold out everywhere, and people just didn't buy enough, which is why Stray Dogs are going back to print again with more homage covers.
For the last time, this is what Image Comics had to say this week. They're pleased to announce that every issue of the wildly popular Stray Dogs by Tony Fleece and Trish Forstner will be rushed back to print for the final time to alleviate the untamed reorder activity on the series. They're also bringing more horror homages back to shops. We have a stunning, I already ordered so many copies of this. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. 28 Days Later getting an homage, as well as Bram Stoker's Dracula getting an homage. But keep in mind, there's one other unreleased variant. It's going to be a cover B of Stray Dogs number 5, second printing, 1 in 10 retailer incentive. I am hunting for that.
Every time they announce another one of these, I think they're going to run out of a horror movie poster. But if you're not a fan of horror movie posters, you should go buy the blank one and then send it in for the Fleece Forstner signing where they will actually sketch your pet, available over at CGC. It's incredible.
And number 6 on the list, we have Defenders 18. We're talking Bulldozer, Piledriver, Thunderball, and the Wrecker.
This is the first appearance of the Wrecking Crew in comic books. Defenders number 18. We are seeing a $75 average sale and a $1,250 high sale for a CGC 9.6. 414% increase in copies sold this week because there are rumors we may be seeing them soon.
Rumors that they may show up in She-Hulk, pleasing so many comic fans. They're one of the favorite villainous teams from the 80s. Nick over at Key Collector Comics, the man behind the computer, does a category weekly called Nick's Picks, and you need to be up on that because he's just putting out comics that he thinks are interesting that have some spec room. And he put the Wrecking Crew on there over a week before the rumors started circulating, catching up a lot of people, getting them ahead of the curve. So well done there. Keep an eye out for Thor 148. This is the first appearance of the Wrecker, one of the members of the group who actually debuted in the Silver Age. And another book that made the trending 20 was Defenders 17, where they appear in cameo, this glorious 2-page spread at the end. That's a lot of characters. That's a lot of room in that comic book, but it's only a cameo.
The Wrecking Crew rampaging to a 414% increase in copies sold this week. Now, a rumor that we heard a few years ago, Tom and I have been talking about for over 2 years, has finally come to fruition with the release of the Black Widow movie this week. The villain, Taskmaster, is in there, and I haven't seen it yet because I thought it was free on Disney Plus, and it's not.
At the list of number 5, mimicking his way onto our list for the upteenth time, we have Avengers 196, the first appearance in full of the Taskmaster.
$270 average sale, $2,300 for a CGC 9.8, but $3,000 for a CGC 9.8 newsstand. I'm excited to see this movie. I'm excited to see Taskmaster in action. I'm not excited about their costume change.
We're recording this video just hours after its release, morning up. Very excited to see this book, to see one of my favorite villains on screen. And depending on how they do Taskmaster will determine how this book will do long term. But keep in mind, if these prices scare you, keep an eye out for Avengers 195. Last page spread, introducing Taskmaster, full page of Taskmaster goodness on this George Perez stellar key book.
Coming in at number 4, we have another one of these. It could be the cameo, it could be the first full appearance, but Thor 365.
So much fan service being done, so many eggs being planted. You'd think the damn Easter Bunny is going to pop out at some point in Loki episode 5. But what I can tell you is that what's causing the community to buzz is that camera panning down to our Loki hideout, showing a beaker that's closed with a frog inside moving, and that frog is dressed as Thor. And that beaker is labeled T365 for a damn reason, putting this comic on our list.
$15 average sales, $200 for a CGC 9.8. And I know that we've talked about Thor 364 before, and it's the first appearance of Puddle Gulp, and it's the first time you see a frog. And I know that's kind of had a retcon thing as to the first appearance, but in 365, it is the first appearance of Thor, Frog of Thunder.
You're correct. The lineage of what the community has dubbed as Throg is pretty deep. Follow me here down this rabbit hole, comic fam, this bunny hole. 364, Thor gets turned into a frog courtesy of Loki. That book is traditionally pretty expensive because not really key spec, but more because fans love this short narrative. It's very weird. Thor has to deal with stuff as a frog, like fighting alligators. What? Alligators? Well, no worries. We don't have any Lokis as alligators in here because Loki's actually in the comic book. I digress. But in this comic, you do meet another frog that is largely forgotten because in 365, Thor does pick up the hammer as a frog, turning him into a frog version of Thor, which is why 365 is so exciting and why that title made the beaker. Years later, after the community, the readers wanted to bring Thor as a frog back, well, Thor's not going to turn back into a frog and become a superhero. So they retcon this narrative. And in 364, they take one of the other frogs, Simon Walterson, and they give him a backstory and give him a shard of the hammer of Mjolnir and turn him into the second frog version of Thor, creating Throg. And that happens, that retcon, in Lockjaw Pet Avengers.
So for those of you who are fans of Puddle Gulp, of Simon Walterson, of Throg that has been retconned in the Pet Avengers, great, pick up 364. But if you want the true Thor, Frog of Thunder, get 365.
Comic Butch in the house, and an increase of copies sold of 380% this week. Very hyped to see how we're going to end this series. The What If trailer dropped this week looks outstanding. And number 3 on the list, we got to talk about Renee Montoya.
Number 3 on the list, Batman number 475. This is the first full appearance of Renee Montoya, who turns into the second question. Why are we talking about it this week? We are seeing a 2,800% increase in this book that has been $9 forever because we have casting call information that has a character that is surprisingly similar to Renee Montoya, supposed to be in Batwoman Season 3.
Mustache Pete is dead, comic fam. Well, this comic book is one that we know as dealers because it's surrounded by very cheap Batman comics, except for this one that's maintaining a $9 average sale this week and a high sale for a CGC 9.8 of $200. And there is a double key. You mentioned it. 52 week 48. This comic book features the origin of Birds of Prey, as well as Renee Montoya becoming the second question. And this is a $3 book.
Every week there seems to be some type of curveball book that no one is really expecting. And this week, number 2 on the list, Avengers, Terminatrix Objective number 1. I love this cover because it's a foil cover, but it's not even just like a regular foil cover. It's got this like special depth to it. This is a book that really no one was specking on, but $40 average sales and a $57 for a raw high sale for the first appearance of Alioth in comic books.
Alioth showing up in Loki episode 5. What? No one expected this. Ties to Kang, the temporal limbo. We have the first appearance of Alioth, the supreme being of the time span. And this is an entity that Kang doesn't even want to mess with. Kang the Conqueror is down to conquer time, but he's not down to conquer the entire time span, not all of time, because there is a barrier that he doesn't want to go past. His time span is limited and starting in 2000 BC, because beyond that, well, you're getting into Alioth's territory.
This is also the first appearance of the Council of Cross-Time Kangs. Pay attention to these names, guys. We have Kang Swatch, Kang Rowlax, Kang Cassio. Why is there not a Kang Seiko? Like, really, this is a little bit crazy, and I don't think they went very deep to find some crazy names, but 1,460% increase in copies sold of this book.
Kang is an extraordinarily powerful villain, an antagonist who doesn't get bothered from having to fight Earth's mightiest heroes. But Alioth is one that he creates a barrier so he doesn't have to go up against, because he don't want to deal with this temporal disturbance who causes massive devastation across the timeline.
Before this show, this giant cloud that destroys everything it touches, this trans-temporal entity, was probably not known by a lot of people, and all of a sudden, you have people watching the Loki show that are making this a very desirable collectible.
Comic fam, we've officially broken the 3-year marker, providing the trending comics list weekly without fail. Rain or shine, convention or in illness, I've been here to make sure that you get this information. If you want to support what we do, you can give us an excuse to send you comics every single month, or we have 2 exclusives guaranteed per box. The first is a Boys #1 Homelander variant done by the horror legend Ben Templesmith, variants of which virgin copies going out at random. The second guarantee that's happening ongoing month over month is a Scoot Comics exclusive, Claire and the Dragons, an homage to the return of Dr. Seuss, a comic book that's okay for the whole family to enjoy.
We work very hard every month to get you as many exclusives in the box. Here's a special variant that'll be going out to a lot of the comic fam, but it won't be everyone. This incredible America Chavez Voices variant.
Done by the very talented Edge. And comic fam, let's chat about the #1 trending comic in the world.
#1 on the list, infamous Iron Man #1. Now, we were talking about this a couple months ago because of Toy Spec, but now we have a code name for a show that's coming up that is driving this book even higher.
We have a $35 average sale and a high sale for a CGC 9.8 hitting 200 bones this week. The Assad Ribic variant, the 1 in 25, has hit $990 for a CGC 9.8. And after an 800% increase in copies sold, what happened? We chatted about the reveal in May, the Hasbro action figure release showcasing a Tony Stark in Iron Man suit, but he appears to be artificial intelligence. He's got like this see-through looking head, and it's in this book, which is, by the way, a double key, where we have Dr. Doom taking on the place as Iron Man in this comic book, but also the first appearance of Tony Stark as artificial intelligence. He lives on via AI to train Riri Williams. Will we see a reprisal of the role, possibly voice only, of Robert Downey Jr.? Well, the rumor, the code name for the upcoming Riri Williams Ironheart show has been rumored to be called Wise Guy. And the only wise guy that I really know in the MCU is Tony Stark.
Another potential is James Rhodes' War Machine being played by Don Cheadle. Now, we know that Armor Wars series is coming, and if they intertwined Armor Wars along with Ironheart, it would be a great way to have his protege and his best friend working together.
Stark Industries tech getting into the wrong hands, causing a ruckus for our heroes. Very excited about Armor Wars. There's a lot of different protege narratives that could take place, but I also want to bring it back to Iron Man 3. Harley Keener, that boy made a connection with Tony Stark. Tony Stark bought him a bunch of stuff so he can essentially become a mentor to him. They even brought him back for Endgame. Now, most people don't know that Harley Keener made his first appearance in comic books within the last couple months. We're talking Web of Spider-Man, issue number 1. This was a kid's book that was largely bought by collectors for this very appearance.
This Spider-Man book was under-ordered and sold out almost immediately at my shop. The fact that we've got collectors trying to get anything they can with Harley Keener, he showed up twice in the MCU. Are we going to see him in the future?
I gotta hear your thoughts in the comments section below. Do you own any of these books? Do any of these books make you want to spec on something else? Help your fellow members. Slap that like, hit that subscribe button. It'll enter you to win this TMNT 110 Peach Momoko trade dress variant featuring the last Ronin in preview. And as always,
geek responsibly.
Enough said. Comic fam, we got 2 videos for you today. The first one is the podcast. The other one is the Hot 10 with Gem Mint from Gem Mint Collectibles, talking about those comics defining this generation of collectors, some mind-bending record breakers. Join us and have a great week.